Throw a double on the NRL in Vegas this weekend with Betcha. Place any bet on the Warriors versus Raiders, and Betcha will deal you up to $50 as a bonus bet to use on the Panthers versus Sharks. Bet it out, R18. Bet responsibly. T's and C's apply. How weird is this? Like, League of Our Own is back for season 2, Blairy, but you and I are divided by the Tasman Sea. It's kind of strange, man. It's great to see your face, great to hear you again, but what is Newcastle like in Australia, man?
Hey, Goran, man, it's great to see you and always great to chat to you. And how good is that we've got our show going back on again, season 2, and I'm excited for it. I guess it's another year of footy. It's another year of you and I talking together and talking all things rugby league. Warriors and obviously Kiwi players in the NRL. And I'm all the way over here in Newcastle.
So how on earth did this happen? Because when we parted company, you were tied up with the New Zealand Warriors, and then all of a sudden a few quiet words here and there, and boom, you and your family, you disappear back across the ditch for what is this now? Your 5th NRL club.
Oh, are we
so what do they say? More clubs than Greg Norman, mate.
we counting clubs, are we? It was more, Goran, it was an exciting opportunity more so than anything, and for me to continue to keep developing in the coaching space. I work here at Newcastle amongst the pathways and as a coaching director and looking after the SG Ball coach and the Harold Matthews coach and a few of our elite young talent coming through the pathways and just giving them extra coaching and detail around how they can do things better, or just even encouraging them on and off the field and away from the field as well. So for me to continue in the game, to get closer to NRL, to maybe one day being a coach in some sort of capacity at the NRL level.
Yeah, of course. I wish you all the best on that journey, man. And who knows, like in season 3 or 4 or 5 of League of Our Own, maybe I'm talking to an NRL head coach. And wouldn't that be cool? Imagine all the scoops that we'd get on this thing, man. Like, people would be listening, people would be watching. I look forward to those days. But look, you've ruffled a few feathers over there, eh? Yeah, all you do is, mate, of course you have. You turn up with your Māori All-Stars, you beat the Indigenous All-Stars, and you have a little bit of a word about representation and eligibility and people who might want to play, and all of a sudden Ricky Stuart, who's a little bit prickly at the best of times, starts chiming in. Some of the things he said were pretty hurtful. He was calling you childish and inexperienced as a coach, and I think at one point he even said that you were selfish, and you were selfish as a player as well. And how are you going to be in the same room as this guy when you see him next time? And not want to knock his block off?
Yeah, I think I've been, over my time through the game, been known to ruffle a few feathers just with...
Nah, not you, mate. Not you. You're way too nice.
If it's not with the players on the field, it was with the players off the field. But, Goran, you know how important, that Māori space for me is, and how passionate I am around that space, and how, for me, I want our best Māori players on the field, whether you're at the Canberra Raiders or at the Melbourne Storm or the Warriors in general. And like I said in the press conference afterwards, if you look at the Canberra Raiders, typically over the past, and Ricky did say it, that they've been massive supporters of that All-Stars game. And I could go through, 5 or 6 players, like I said, in their top side that could have all been a part of it. And for some reason, that's what I said, for some reason, they weren't available. And I think the biggest learnings for myself is... I had my say after Ricky, but we're not going to get that airtime because Ricky Stuart is Ricky Stuart. So for me, and the person that I am, Goran, is to miserably give him a bit of a call after he gets back from Vegas and just try and smooth things over, because rather than play it out in the media, I'd rather have that conversation with him and maybe just get some insight to what he was thinking as well at the same time. And maybe I can explain myself a little bit better where he can understand where I was coming from. I wasn't directly directly saying that it was him that stopped the players from coming in. I just said, you've got some talented players down there, and I guess it's a credit to the Canberra Raiders and what they've done, I guess, throughout their journey of their existence, that there's been a lot of Māori Polynesian boys that come through there, and they're some top quality players. And I said Joseph Tapine has been a big believer in what we've done. So it's just more so just, I guess, smoothing it all out with Ricky when I get a chance, and when he gets back from Vegas, they stay out of trouble over there, and have that little conversation.
Too late for that, man. They have not been able to stay out of trouble.
Or rugby league, it's a funny game. So, I think the bigger thing for myself is, now that Ricky's had his say in the media, it's about me obviously trying to connect with him and have that conversation around that, because and like I said, they've been a long support, and Ricky said the same thing. They've been a long support of this All-Stars game, and some great players down there, Māori players as well.
Give us a short answer to this question, Blairy, because I want to have a crack at this. Who runs the All-Stars? Is it the NRL?
It's always been the NRL.
It's the NRL, right? So, in other words, players who are fit and eligible should play in the All-Stars game, and they should treat it like an international fixture, right?
Without a doubt.
They should want to be in that match, and it be a great honour to represent your culture and your heritage. I don't understand this whole thing of people picking and choosing which pre-season games they're going to get into before the NRL season begins in earnest, round one. I would, I wish I was an NRL player, and I wish I had Māori heritage, because, Christ, mate, I would play for you every single year if I was good enough and selected. I don't get it personally, man. It's an opportunity to not only represent your culture but your country, and to think that people are dodging and weaving and hiding behind maybe, I'm saving myself for round one. Like, that is essentially round one. You're putting yourself on stage, representing your culture. Go ahead and do it. Like, I just don't understand the mentality, because if you're protecting yourself, if you're wrapping yourself up in cotton wool, Blairy, you could get injured at any time, at any moment. Is it better that you get injured in round one for your NRL team? I don't know if it is. But just, come on.
It's
just represent your culture in what is a showpiece game. Is basically my message to those people who don't want to.
Yeah, I don't think it's that they don't want to, Goran. I think, like I said in my press conference as well, I work on both sides now. So obviously I used to be a player, and I get how much, representing your culture and your people is to a lot of us Māori players. But I also work on the club side as an administrator, as a coach, and I get the risk that the clubs take all the time. But there is no comparison. And you ask any single one of those players that walk into that space and into those teams, there is no other comparison to it. It's a place of purpose. And for a lot of our players, what I try and create from my experience of being a player and now a coach and living in Australia, is some players are at a different stage of their journey when it comes to culture and their connection. And, the likes of Kalyn Ponga, who was blessed to be able to have him in our side, to see him, I guess, dive into his culture and really get to know that side of his thing. Those are the highlights for me. And, we live and breathe. When you're living in New Zealand, we are so blessed to have our culture at our side. When you're over here, you're away from it. So for me, it's about, I guess, educating our clubs, educating the game around what this means to a lot of Māori players. And yes, like you said, if you've got some sort of Māori blood in you, you only have to have 1/18th. You're still an opportunity and a chance of playing in this All-Stars game. So, as the game, we can encourage it a lot more. We can be stronger as a game to tell the players that if you're a chance of playing, and to the clubs that these guys should be eligible. So there's a long way to go, but we're making inroads, and that game speaks volumes of how much it meant to the Māori players and the Indigenous players, and the result was a tough game.
Yeah, my hat's off to Kalyn Ponga, to be honest, because as somebody who has Māori blood, who only spent a short time in New Zealand, moved to Australia, and he's grown up essentially as an Australian, it does take a bit of bravery, a bit of bravado, a bit of courage to say, look, I do want to represent the Māori culture. I don't know a great deal about it, but I'm willing to learn. I think maybe some people would say, look, I don't know enough about it. I'm a bit scared. And so therefore I don't want to put my hand up.
Correct.
So yeah, I think it's wonderful that somebody like Kalen did join the squad, and he's such a wonderful player, and I'm sure your new connection together at the Newcastle Knights probably swayed him a little bit. But yeah, I think it's really cool to see him do that, because from my personal point of view, and it's away from rugby league completely, I don't know much about my Croatian side, and I am scared to find out a little bit more about it, because I don't even know where to begin. I don't have a my mother is a New Zealand European. My dad was the Croatian, and he passed away all those years ago. I don't really know how to reconnect with that side, or connect, I should say, to make it an even start.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's really brave of Kalen to do that, especially in such a he's on the grand stage, and he's one of these guys that people always talk about. They want to see him play. So yeah, my hat's off to him. We were talking about the Raiders, and Ricky's got other problems, and geez, what happens in Vegas doesn't stay in Vegas, it would seem, because a couple of brawling buddies, Hudson Young, Morgan Smithies, have you caught up with the details of the brawl? Because it just sounds like a comedy show, mate. Like, what do you know about it?
Well, you to flick on the TV over here in Australia, and there's NRL on pretty much all the news channels. And I only know as much as everyone else knows. I think the last
plenty.
The last thing I heard is, obviously they went out on a big night. They went back to the hotel. Someone wanted to sleep in the other one's room. The other one didn't allow them, and then they went at each other. It's a random way of doing things, but I guess when you're a little bit intoxicated, you've had a bit of fun, you just want to go home to bed, and you just want to sleep in your mate's room. He doesn't want to allow you, so you're having a bit of a push and shove. There has to be more to the story than just those things. But again, like you said, what happens in Vegas normally stays in Vegas. This one's got out because all the reporters are over there, most probably staying in the same hotel, and you weren't going to dodge anyone, Goran.
Yeah, it sort of brought a question to my mind, listening to the yarns from Hudson Young, Morgan Smithies, like, oh yeah, we're great mates, but we ended up coming to blows. I'll ask you shortly. I'll give you a story first of all. I want to know if you've ever scrapped one of your good mates. I nearly did. Like, I'm a lover, not a fighter.
Yeah.
Got to be honest. I do not want to fight anybody, but I remember after a night out, I think we were celebrating a mate's 30th, and I'd had way too many Jaeger bombs, and it was about 6 o'clock in the morning, and me and two of my good mates were stumbling back to our place, and they were just ribbing me on something I'd done years ago, and I thought, oh, stuff you, and I shoved my mate, and he he fell over and hit his head into the door. And I've never felt worse, because that's what I did to my mate. So, I understand how it happens.
Yeah.
Because you're so close to these people, and maybe a bit of push and shove. It's all right. But yeah, man, I've I guess scrapped my good mate.
Yeah. Well,
how about you?
Yeah, I think when you look at a preseason, Goran, there's so much testosterone built up through the preseason, whether you're lifting weights, you're smacking each other on the field, you're in the wrestling room, you're wrestling around all day. And that's typically runs from November to your start of your first trial, which is normally February. And these guys have most probably been at it the whole of preseason and gone at it that way. And then just a little moment of, I guess, just something just clicked, and then they just went after it and had a bit of fun. Same thing, obviously, there's a lot of stories when I was playing, but I'm not going to go right into the detail. But even in preseasons, like I said, there's testosterone. You do you go have a little bit of push and shove and a bit of mouthing off going on, but it happens all the time. Like, even through the seasons, when people are fighting for positions, people are trying to work each other out. Young guys are coming through, pushing older guys around. Older guys are going, get stuffed. I'm not going to let you in on this. So it's part and parcel of what happens, but I guess it's highlighted when they're in Vegas and they're there to play the game of rugby league. There's everyone around. It doesn't look good for the game, but it's happened. They want to sweep it under the rug and move forward. I guess you're going to hear more about it next week when they come out of Vegas and get back into Australia and what the punishments are.
Not exactly the best lead-in for what everybody reckons is going to be a struggling Canberra Raiders side in 2025. Going up against the Warriors, the New Zealand Warriors, in round one
Yep.
in Vegas. Like that, it's very, very poor preparation from Ricky Stuart's side. An experienced coach like that, Adam, he should know better. But look, we'll leave that in the past. We've already spoken about Ricky. Let's talk about the Warriors though, because a lot of Wars fans out there would say, is it going to be our year in 2025? After placing 13th in 2024, I think we need to be maybe a little bit more realistic. Maybe we should ask the question, are they in or are they out of the 8? Because I think that would be a decent enough jump from where they were last year, a season of disappointment and injury and just, it was so underwhelming after what they did in 2023. I wonder if the question is in or out of the 8. And I've got a few pros and cons before I give you my verdict. I think a massive pro has to be the Fish, James Fisher-Harris. Everything I'm hearing out of the Warriors camp is how incredible this guy is. He's a specimen. He's the scariest man alive just to look at. But I'm telling you stuff that you already know. You've been in his company many, many times. You know what he brings to his side. So that's one pro. Another one is it seems that they've finally figured out, and we no longer have to have this discussion. I was going to call it an argument, but it was more like we were agreeing all the time.
Definitely.
RTS is a winger. He's a winger in 2025. So that has got to be a positive. And the final one for me, which kind of signalled RTS's move to the wing, Wets re-signed. Adam Pompey is with the Warriors for 2027, so he's got the extension. I feel like Andrew Webster has really figured out what he's doing with that back line, and the makeup of it looks a lot better to me now that you've locked in Wets and you've given him that confidence.
Definitely.
And you've figured out where Roger is best suited. And I'm so pleased we don't have to have that conversation. We can talk about other things. So those are my pros. I'll give you my list of cons, and they're pretty short. Adam Fanua-Blake to the Sharks.
Yep.
Sean Johnson retired. And last and certainly not least, the medical retirement of Tohu Harris.
Yep.
And we've talked before about how immense that guy is. To have him disappear, especially in the pre-season, like the off-season, what a shitty way for an absolute Trojan of a player to leave the game. So all told, I'm saying that there's enough good for the Warriors to make the 8 and then make a run from there. I think they're in 25. What about you, man?
Yeah, definitely, Goran. You pretty much said everything that I would have said. I know.
Just repeat it then. Repeat it.
Or just rewind that back and just play it again. Or whoever's listening, rewind it back. The conversation about Roger, I know that we spoke about it numerous times about if he's not the full,
like every other week,
if he's not the fullback, he's the winger. They've finally come around to putting him out there, and I don't know. I think if you look at their trial form, and I know it's only trial games, I thought they were quite solid with what they did. I know, their last trial game against the Melbourne Storm, and I'm not saying the Melbourne Storm were under strength, but when you typically see a Melbourne Storm team, doesn't matter who's on the field, they normally put up a real good challenge, or they compete and they fight for everything. And I think the scoreline was most probably 36 or 38-0 at half time. They actually did a really good job. Their systems, their game style, it all suited what they needed to get done, and they were really crisp. Again, like you said, Adam Pompey-Wets finds himself in that centre position where we spoke about it numerous times again last year. That's his position. He's a good player. Ali Lautau, I think, and I spoke about him last year, he's got X factor written about him, and it's good to see those guys stepping up. And you watch their trial form, they were enormous through the trials as well. I guess for me, and you spoke about James Fisher-Harris, it's about keeping, when you look at their starting pack, there's some war horses in there that are just going to get the job done. James, I know, and you know from obviously just having our conversation with Fish, how, I guess, intimidating, how passionate he is, how, I guess, deliberate with all his action he is when he's just his everyday living, let alone his training and his game style. For me, I think, having all those boys in their positions, Chanel, I think Luke Metcalf, you know what I mean? Like, you watch his his trial form, I thought he was outstanding in that 7 position. And then you add Chanel in there, who's a tough 6. That's a runner that can play a little bit of ad-lib footy, but they can also be guided around from Luke Metcalf. And I think for me, the strongest part for their team this year looks to be their bench. I felt like pre-last year, I thought they couldn't make up their mind on who was going to be their bench players. And a lot of their bench players were playing minimal time. So a lot of their older guys had to play big minutes. And at the back end of the season, obviously Mitch Barnett with Origin, they looked fatigued and tired. They've got some great players on the bench. Dylan Walker's on there, Jackson Ford, Dimitrik, and even young Leka Haliasima gets a start. So I feel like, when you've got a consistent bench that bring a lot of different attributes to the game that can help the Warriors do what they can do. I think that's going to be their strength this year. Their bench is going to be a big part of how far they go into the season. Love Aaron Clark. I think he's a great player. Solid 13. Got a nice little ball playing ability about him. Can run real strong, tough lines, but is a tough defender for the middle of the park. So if I go through their whole team like I just have, man, they're definitely in a top 8 team. But even I could have said that over the last few years, Goran, you have one injuries to some of those key players. We could be in the same. They could be in the same situation as they were last year, 2024, if they lose someone like Luke Metcalf or Chanel Harris-Davida or Roger or Chance at the back or some of their big experienced players for the middle of the park. So I guess with their pathways the way it is, continue to keep developing those young kids and bringing them through like the likes of Dimitrik and Leka.
Yeah, I'm so glad you mentioned Leka because I was watching I think something on Facebook the other day, and it was Den and Kemp going through one of Leka Halasima's plays where he's made a tackle and he's clearly got a stinger or a burner, and he's battling. He's struggling to get up and get back to the defensive line, and the play comes his way again, and he doesn't shirk his responsibility. He puts his body on the line and he goes again.
Definitely.
And Denon was saying, look, this is case in point a quality rugby league player, and he's so young, but he understands the importance of working hard, despite the fact that you might be a little bit crocked. Work hard for the team, put the team first, not yourself. So, I can't wait to see his further development throughout this year, and I hope he gets a lot of opportunities off the bench, Blairy.
It's definitely his growth, Goran. He's 2 years into his NRL career, 3 years into his rugby league career with the Warriors. So 23 SG Ball, 23 New South Wales Cup, 24 New South Wales Cup, 24 couple of games here and there of NRL. This is his 3rd year. His development is moving upwards. Like you said, can't wait to see where it all ends up for Leka, because he's a great raw talent and so much green in his game, but can be whatever he wants to be with all the coaching and development he's going to be able to get over the next few years.
Yeah. Something that we're going to do on this podcast throughout the course of the season is betcha this happens in round, insert number here. Now, this week it's a little bit strange because it's not really a weekend. It's kind of across 2 weekends. It's split because of the Vegas doubleheader. So I was thinking for the inaugural edition of Betcha This Happens, I'm going to do a bit of a multi across the 2 games. Generally, what I'll do, Blairy, is with 8 games a weekend, I'll just pick the winner and we'll multi it up. We'll put $5 on it, and I'll see if I'm a millionaire by Monday. So first up, we've got Canberra Raiders and the New Zealand Warriors. That for me is a no-brainer. I'm going to back the Wars to beat the woeful Raiders. Not only that though, mate, I'm going to get on the returning Warrior, Aaron Clark, for an anytime try scorer. He's paying $5.50.
Not bad.
So that's that side of things. And the other one, the late game, Penrith Panthers.
Surely an upset here.
Up against the Sharks. Yeah, I'm picking the upset. The Sharks to win.
Definitely.
Paying $2.25. And not just that, I'm going to go a try scorer, somebody who celebrated re-signing with the Sharks, who has a ridiculous try-scoring record, Ronaldo Mulatalo at $2.20. So all up, what are we looking at here? I think it's something like a multi of 28.27. I'm going to put a sly $5 on that, returning $141.36. So let's do that. Warriors to win. Sharks for the upset over the Panthers.
Definitely, I like that one.
Ronaldo Mulatalo and Aaron Clark to score on his return to the Wars.
Perfect.
That's that, mate. Would you have changed anything?
I like exactly. Maybe, I like Aaron Clark for any time first try scorer, but even, you could have gone with Adam Fanua Blake or Josh or Josh Hazelton, who is a try scoring machine. They've got two front rowers in their team that can just score tries and find this try line. So you could have gone either way there.
Yeah, Sharks, they're going to be interesting this year, man. I think they're going to be pushing for the top, which kind of leads us to our next segment and our last segment, which is Chump and Champ for 25. I want to know from you, first of all, before I chime in with my very heady reasoning, who you think is going to be the champ this year and who's going to be taking home the wooden spoon. What do you reckon?
We're talking about the team.
The team. Yep. Who's going to win it and who's going to be propping up 16 other teams?
Honestly, Goran, it's so hard. If we, and I know we've done this before in the past and we've just...
And we always get it wrong.
I think we did a pre-thing on our top 4 and top 8. I think I had maybe the Rabbitohs in the top 4 and they ended up getting pumped down the bottom and... Obviously, we stuck the Warriors in there, and
I think I had the Eels in the top 4 last year.
We even had the Broncos. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so we were pretty bad. So I'm gonna say just on pure preseason, which is it's hard for everyone. I'm gonna say the Broncos are gonna finish on top of the ladder. And Broncos.
They're going to win it all.
Are they going for the whole? Oh, nah. The Knights are going to win it all. Are you going for? I was putting it in positions of the top of the ladder.
Yeah. Okay. Sure. So it's 1 and 17.
Yeah. So that's how I was going to do it. So I was going to say the Broncos are going to finish on top, and then our last place for me is going to be, and this is much better stab in the dark.
Don't you dare say Eels, mate.
No, this is pretty bad. The Roosters.
The Roosters.
This is that. Well, that's a
wow. What a fall from grace!
It's an out there
when you
one.
Look at their squad, mate. When you look at their squad and all the players that left,
that's what I'm thinking.
Joey Manu, Jared Waerea-Hargreaves, and so many more. Look, you could be onto something there, man.
I'm just thinking
you could be onto something there.
They've lost so much talent and absolutely superstars, and I think we spoke about this again last year as well. Is that if you look through their 1 to 17 on paper, they are a premiership winning team last year. You go through their squad now, you're looking for the experience, you're looking for someone that's going to break open the game. Last year, you could have gone Joey Manu, Suali'i. They've got Brandon Smith still on the sidelines, Walker's on the sidelines. I feel like this is just me having a stab, Goran. I don't actually know, but I feel like just on pure experience, and what they've lost, that they're going to end up down the bottom, which would be crazy.
It would be, I mean, they're star-studded, and they always have been, always will be. And to think that they might be pushing everybody up come season's end, that's outrageous. But what a call, mate. And look, I think it's probably about time that we did something outrageous here on League of Our Own, because as you said earlier, you pick the solid ones for the top 4 and invariably they let you down. So let's go Roosters for last place and a wooden spoon.
What do you reckon? Who you got?
Well, I mean, if the Roosters do get the wooden spoon, at least it saves Benji from 17th spot and a spoon again. I reckon I'll go with my chump first. And we're doing Ricky Stuart no favours at all on our first episode of League of Our Own for 2025. But the Raiders are going to finish bottom.
Yeah.
The Raiders are gone. So that I've said all I need to say about that. Yeah, Raiders are bottom. For my champ, I'm going with not the Penrith Panthers, but the Melbourne Storm.
Yeah.
And I know that the Storm were, I mean, geez, they fought valiantly in that grand final last year, but it was just a bridge too far for them. Fast forward to present day, and you've got the Panthers losing more players. Fish, Jerome Luai, Sunia Turuva. Yes, they've still got some serious quality, and they've always got Nathan Cleary, Isaiah Yeo, Moses Leota. But I just feel like they've lost too many players finally.
Yep.
And they can't just keep on replenishing the stock. It just does not work like that. I know that this Penrith Panthers team is built differently, and Ivan Cleary is a hell of a coach. He's proven himself beyond a shadow of a doubt that he is the coach for right now. But I don't think they've managed to, compensate for the loss of Fish, for example, and Blaise Talangi, who went from the Eels to the Panthers. I think he's not even on the bench. He's actually in the reserves. Didn't make the interchange for their first match against the Sharks. So I think they've got problems. Sure, Ivan will try and figure a way to make it all work, but I don't see the Panthers winning, and I think the Melbourne Storm, with very little change to their squad, it's almost like they just go one better than last year.
Yeah, I think Penrith's systems hold up, you know what I mean, over the last 5 years. I think with all their changes, I know this is their biggest, most probably turnover of players when it comes to like leaders in their team. But I think because of their system, similar to the Melbourne Storm, I think their system holds them together. Everyone knows what their game style is. Everyone knows how to get their job done. And it's similar to the Melbourne Storm. You come into that system, the system just works because you just got to get your job done. And I feel like the Penrith Panthers are real similar in those ways, is that you step in there, you know what you're doing, you get your job done, and everyone just works like a well-oiled machine. But again, it's going to be another competitive season for all games, and we're making predictions at the start of the season, and no one's even kicked the ball off, and it's right around the corner. Vegas is right here, and here we are putting people at the top and putting people on the bottom.
This is what we do.
And we're just a couple of Kiwi fellas just having a laugh. How good.
Yeah, man. Yeah, love it. Okay, so Broncos, Storm, Roosters, Raiders.
Yeah, that's us.
Yeah. I mean, any other year that could be a top four.
Definitely.
Not split across 1 and 17.
Definitely.
Look, this isn't a prediction. This is actually more of a request, because now that you are aligned with the Newcastle Knights, I keep on seeing stories pop up all the time linking my boy, Dylan Brown, my Eels playmaker, with your club. Can you please keep your grubby mitts off my Dylan Brown, please?
Hey, everyone's going after Dylan Brown. That's how good of a quality player he is. And hopefully...
You'd be pretty stupid not to chase Dylan Brown, eh?
Obviously, I'm not in that area when it comes to obviously signing players, but hopefully our whangare connection can get us home.
I know.
Hey, and I'll tell you what, Goran, we've tried to get him on here before too. So similar to what I did with Caleb Ponga, is you can't walk past my office anymore. Maybe the whangare connection gets him over the line. He ends up here somewhere, and we can get him on the potty as well.
He's not part of the Northland Carvers, is he?
He's the Northern Swords. I'm the Northland Carvers.
Honestly, mate, because aren't you looking for a 7? And he proved without a shadow of a doubt he's a 6 through and through last year. When Mitch Moses was out injured, he was unable to steer the ship. So
maybe
different. You leave him where he is.
Maybe different game styles might suit him, you know. But hey, like you said, Goran, everyone's chasing him. But do they all need a 7?
No, they don't.
You just when you get elite players and they come to the market, you've got to be in the game to play the game. Otherwise, you're the one sitting out watching everyone else play.
Yeah. Speaking of elite players, just before we go, you actually came out of retirement this off-season, didn't you? And you played in the Nines. Whereabouts are those Nines
It was up in the Gold Coast in Tugun.
How did that feel, mate? Because you haven't run around for a little while.
I'll tell you what, Goran, I wasn't nervous, and it was my first time in 5 years that I've actually played on a field and done some sort of contact. I've done contact in the wrestling rooms, but this time it's 9-a-side. There's a bit of space in between you. The hardest thing for me, Goran, is what was trying to line up the mind, the body, and the feet, and working that all together as one. I had a person in front of me. My mind was saying, go tackle him. My legs just wouldn't work, and the body was just like, what do you do? Anyways, I make my first tackle. I reckon it was nearly a hip drop, because I'd never took my legs. Like we tell our kids, take your feet to the tackle. My feet weren't working. I couldn't get it to the tackle. I wrapped my arms. I fall around the back. But once I made that first tackle, Goran, everything kind of just come back. I felt so much more comfortable after the first game into the second, and by day 2, man, you couldn't get me off the field. I was having that much fun.
Brilliant.
Definitely looking to try and maybe get back there again next year and have a bit of fun as well. But so to all those people that Goran or to all those people that messaged me saying, hey, you're looking good and you can come and play for us, I'm unavailable. It was
put a line through the name of Adam Blair.
It was just a opportunity, Goran, just to run with my mates that I used to play with, to connect up, to I guess play alongside them on the field that we went to battle with, and we put our whole body on the line for the game of rugby league. And I think there was 140 other former NRL players there playing over the weekend. You couldn't walk 10 meters without stopping and having yarn to your mates. And I think that was the biggest part of it. So Anthony Mitchell, who's running all the Premier Nines, is doing a great job of making sure that not only it's a spectacle for everyone to watch. He got it on KO Sports. All these little things now, people are trying to buy in. They're trying to have better players, better people out there as well. These kids are coming through, and imagine these 38-year-olds running around with 20-year-olds. It just doesn't match up, does it? But at the same time, bro, it was awesome opportunity just to hang out with my mates, and our partners, our wives, our kids got to spend the weekend together, and it was reminiscent, bringing back the old days.
Well, you just mentioned the wives and kids, the family aspect, right? And I think of you, and your wife Jess has followed you around wherever you go. She goes with you, right? And so for a number of years she was here in New Zealand, and now she's back in Australia, but not quite with family. Sort of just down the road. Well, not just down the road, it's quite a journey, but it must be kind of cool for her and the kids to be closer to her family for the first time in a while. What's that been like? And I know through talking to you over the holiday break that you guys weren't actually together, because you went over early to set things up in Newcastle, and then she went up to Queensland and hung out with the family. So yeah, family is so important, as we've spoken about before on this podcast. But yeah, the lengths that Jess has gone to in order for you to live out your dream, mate.
Yeah, it's
what a hero she is.
It's unbelievable what all our partners do when it comes to like your careers in sport. Especially for myself, 15 years playing the game, and now part time for 4 years, now jumping into full time. And you spoke about it. We've travelled pretty much all over the world with the game of rugby league, and she's been a big part of all of those journeys, and so have the kids. And to be able to just pack up. And I guess you're leaving your friends behind, you're leaving jobs behind, you're leaving the people that you actually spent the last 7 years creating memories with, and all those good times that we had down in New Zealand, to just leave that all behind you to follow me. I am grateful every day for everything she does for us to keep us together. But so are the kids, because if it wasn't for her, we couldn't do what we do. And emotionally, I don't appreciate it enough all the time, you know what I mean? Because we get caught up in our lives and we become selfish to ourselves. And we've got to put some time back into our partners too when we do all these big movements, and the game doesn't stop for anyone, let alone myself, and we've got to stop for a minute and try and appreciate everything that comes with all the moving and stuff like that. So everyone's partners play a big part in their career when it comes to sport, that's for sure.
Yeah, nice, mate. Well said. And look, even though you've gone here, there and everywhere and she's been in behind you, I'm really grateful that we can still connect like this. You know, imagine trying to do this, say, 10 or 15 years ago. We just wouldn't be able to do it. So, you know, technology has kept us together, even though we are far apart.
Yeah.
And, you know, hopefully we can maintain this connection and
Definitely.
keep talking up the great game of rugby league, keep talking up the wonderful Kiwi players that we have in this game, and do it every week on League of Our Own. Blairy, we're back for season 2, man. Can you believe it?
Let's go, Goran. How good's this, man? How good?